Welcome back to Cardboard Chemistry. I'm your host, MTG Labman, and today we're going to talk about my favorite blue cards in the Lorwyn Eclipsed set. So, previous episode we talked about white, moving on down the color pie to blue, and that being said, let me start with a super powerful card, Glanalandra's Answer, 2 and 2 blue. For an instant, this spell can't be countered. Counter all spells your opponents control and all abilities your opponents control. Create a 1/1 blue and black fairy creature token with flying for each spell and ability countered this way. This is a super fun counter spell. Magical Christmas Land, there's a super complex stack. You play this and just counter everything that's been on the stack and create an army of fairy tokens. The 4 mana value for the spell isn't bad, especially since it can't be countered. And I think it'll be seen in C play. It's not going to give you a bunch of fairies all the time, but I think it's just a fun little trick to have in your pocket. Moving on to Mirror Form. 4 colorless and 2 blue, instant. Each non-land permanent you control becomes a copy of target non-aura permanent. I really like the fact that they didn't staple this as until end of turn. This basically says, hey, everything I have becomes a copy of this, and except my lands. And so, I could really see this run in a lot of decks. First thing that for me that comes to mind is running it in Is It, turning all of your stuff into like an Impact Tremors, and then dropping 1 creature on the battlefield and pinging everybody for a bunch of damage. I really like weapons manufacturing from Edge of Eternities, and turning all of your stuff into a weapons manufacturing and then playing an artifact and just pumping out a bunch of munitions tokens that if they leave the battlefield, deal damage. So it's like, hey, try to board wipe me. Commanders, Brutaclad, Telcor Engineer, where you are constantly changing your tokens into the best thing, I think this is a shoe-in card for that deck. And I really just like that it doesn't limit you from turning your creatures into other creatures or turning your enchantments into other enchantments or artifacts. It's like, hey, everything that isn't an aura or a land becomes this. And so it gives you the flexibility of changing your creatures into other things and your other things into creatures if you want. Next card, Noggle the Mind. 1 colorless and 1 blue for an enchantment aura flash enchant creature. Enchanted creature loses all abilities and is a colorless Noggle with base power and toughness 1/1. I really like these auras. I really like these prison auras that are, hey, I'm not removing your creature. I'm turning it into something that's not a threat. Especially in Commander, I really like these cards. I run a few in my Light Paws deck, and it's for the sole purpose of, blocking other commanders or removing creatures, without exiling creatures. The amount of graveyard recursion, it's super easy for players, or if they run graveyard recursion, to bring creatures back. And commanders, like a Path to Exile or a destroy target creature on a commander's great, but they always have the ability to bring it back, right? That's the purpose of commander. And I like having a few of these cards and seeing a few of them being printed, because when if you have a very powerful commander like Voja that it's going to be crazy and you have to pay the ward, I'd rather pay the ward and transform it into something that's still on the battlefield but can't do anything, versus just kicking it back to the command zone to see it recast and then it being a problem that we have to deal with again. Next card is the Omni Changeling, 3 colorless, 2 blue. It's a changeling. It has Convoke, so you can tap creatures to help pay for the colorless or the mana color. You may have this creature enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield except it has changeling. So this is hey, you can copy any creature on the battlefield. A nice little clone effect. Not much more to say about it. I do like clones. Clones are always fun. Back when my brother and I played, I built a mono blue clone deck, and back then he'd have his huge artifact deck and Darksteel Colossuses, and I would just sit there and be like, hey, yeah, you played this giant Darksteel Colossus for like 11 mana, and I'm just going to sit there and clone it. And I think one game I ended up having like 15 clones of Darksteel Colossus, and it's like, hey, I win. Next card is Rimefire Torque, 1 colorless and 1 blue. As this artifact enters, choose a creature type. Whenever a permanent you control of the chosen type enters, put a charge counter on this artifact. Tap it, remove 3 charge counters from this artifact. When you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy it, and you may choose new targets for the copy. So this is a copy and tribal card. I think this is really fun, especially if you run clones, because I could see this in multiple decks. Miram, Sentinel Worm, right? This comes in, I choose Dragon, and then Miram makes a token of every dragon you copy. So this says when a permanent you control of the chosen type enters. So you'll get 2 triggers on your dragon cast and the copy from Miram, and then you could basically just start cloning dragons. If you have you just start cloning your most powerful dragons, because you could copy and you could get 2 copies. So I think Miram's gonna like that card a lot. In any deck that is focusing on tribal and also creating copies of things, so merfolk, fairies, and the like. The last card in blue I want to talk about, I think it's actually really neat. It's Sunderflock, 7 colorless and 2 blue, which seems like a really steep mana cost for a 5/5 with flying, but this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest mana value among elementals you control. So it is an elemental tribal card, but when this creature enters, if you cast it, return all non-elemental creatures to their owner's hands. So this is Cyclonic Rift for elementals on a creature that can be reduced. So, if you have a 7 mana value elemental, more than likely, even if you have a 4 mana value elemental, this is going to cost 5 to cast, but 5 bounce everything your opponents control to their hands. All creatures your opponents control to their hands, and then you swing in with your elemental. It just seems like a really powerful effect. And with that being said, that's my favorite blue cards. Please feel free to leave your favorite blue cards in the comments, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.